Oh, I need my phone with me so I can see when my coffee comes because I definitely ordered Dunkin'. And look at that, it's on the way. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new, then hey, welcome. My name is Jasmine. I am an artist manager, a music business student, and fangirl that makes music pop culture commentary here on this channel. If you're not subscribed, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Definitely stick around and check out some of my other projects. Today's topic is going to be pretty interesting. I've had this video idea in the back of my head for a while now, and we're finally going to touch on it because I keep seeing so many things going on the internet and TikTok and Twitter specifically about camping culture. Specifically camping for concerts, of course, not just like camping. Not something that I'm interested in talking about, but yeah, I've actually seen a lot of video essays and like tweets and TikToks about concert etiquette in general in this day and age. Like this one by Nicole Raffi, who is super amazing. I literally love her commentary. And then this one by Madison Brown also touches on the issue. If you guys want to go check those out about concert etiquette in general. But in this video, we're going to be talking about camping for concerts. So camping out at a venue when you're attending a concert is really wildly popular in this day and age. And camping for concerts, if you don't know, is when you're waiting outside, oftentimes in front of a venue, in tents, camping out days before a concert takes place in hopes of getting the best spot inside the venue. There's people out there willing, rain or shine, to sleep on the streets in front of a venue in hopes to get the best spot to see their favorite artist.
Bundled up fans lined the sidewalk outside the rave Tuesday.
We're having a great time. Lots of laughs, lots of TikToks.
Some braving the chilly temps overnight.
This typically only happens if the show is general admission, or GA for short, which means there's a pit and the spots within the pit are first come, first serve. There's no ticketing assignment where you go and you have a specified seat. So that's why someone would want to camp, so that they can be the first through the doors and go get that barricade spot in the front. And I do want to stress in this video that the concept of camping is nowhere near a brand new phenomenon at all. People have been camping for shows for years and years and years. It's just that it's gotten way more extreme throughout the 2010s into the 2020s up until now. And when I say it's gotten more extreme, I mean extreme, and that's what this video is for. But let me walk you through what the process is like for camping for a concert, just so we're on the same page here, because let me tell you, it's a process. So the camping line usually starts with whoever gets there first, however early you decide to get there, days before, weeks before, whatever, and the first person there is like the unofficial, official starter of the line, who kind of keeps everyone else behind them in check. And by that, I mean that person who is first in line is typically the one who turns around and gives everyone else in line a number.
104 and 105.
And you'll get a number just like based on when you showed up. So if there's one person in line and then you showed up after them, you'll be two, and so on. And these numbers are typically tracked by writing them in Sharpie on everyone's hand. So if you're the first person in line when you're camping, usually that person knows to bring a Sharpie so they can write numbers on everyone's hands behind them and keep track of your place in line. Then once you're there and you have your number Sharpied on your hand, you're literally just sitting there until the doors open for the show. I've seen a lot of times people will like bring games with them to sit like in a circle, lawn chairs, blankets, tents, all those different things that you need to like sit out somewhere, and they'll play games, bring speakers, play music, whatever, on your phones with the portable charger, but you're literally just sitting there conversing, playing whatever with everyone around you until it's time to like genuinely line up. That waiting around period will last until someone from the venue comes out and gives everyone official wristbands for the pit. That is typically when you know that the wait is over, is when someone comes and gives you all your official wristbands and your real numbers in line. Then whenever the doors open for general admission, then everyone will follow the line that they're in. Someone from the venue will take you in through the doors and you go in. Usually no running is allowed and you have to walk to the barricade. But there have been instances where people just like straight up run to the barricade and it's monstrous. I feel like that's the most stressful part about camping, is when you have to do the walk to the barricade while kind of staying in line, but then you kind of run around each other and try to go get the best spot. Literally a madhouse. But that's basically how it works. So it's just all based on how early you show up to the line and what your number is in the line. The closer you are to the front of the line, the better your view is going to be for the show, because you're the first let in and you can run for your life to the barricade before everyone else. I feel like people who choose to camp out for long periods of time for these shows are very dedicated started. We've seen cases where it's literally pouring down rain, thunderstorming, or like snowing and freezing cold, and there are still people lined up on the streets camping for their shows, all in the name of seeing your fave up close and having like that close concert experience, or all in the name of getting barricade. And people will post those pictures where they have their hand on the barricade with the wristband and they'll post like barricade. Like it's a huge thing. It's a big celebration if you get barricade, obviously. Which, when you put it like that, I feel like it all sounds very harmless when it's surface level like that and you don't really dive into everything else. Like just a bunch of people waiting on the street to go inside and see their favorite artists. But the reason that camping has come up time and time again recently in all these conversations across the internet is because of how much wilder camping is getting. Harry Styles, for example, has been on tour for quite a long time now, including doing some residency shows. And it's been noted that fans were lining up for these shows and camping like weeks, even months in advance. I actually saw this evolve with my very own eyes because typically camping lines are like kept up with online, like on Twitter. People will tweet like, oh, this is how long the line is right now, or this is how many people are in line right now, or the line for this show has started, just so other people who are camping can get a good idea of what it looks like. So I saw all these tweets of people showing up to Harry like a few days before, camping, whatever. But then we started getting all these updates that people were starting lines for shows that were weeks away. We started getting updates that people were starting lines for shows that were months away, or like a month away. Weeks, months. Y'all are sleeping in the streets for weeks and months to see this man sing some songs. Floored. Honestly, floored. Like, imagine going back in time and telling a young Victorian boy about this. He would probably flop dead in front of your very eyes. Harry fans aren't the only ones, though, who are like camping this far in advance or engaged in the crazy camping culture in general. There's many, many artists with super, super dedicated fans who will camp out for however long they need to in order to get the best spot. I feel like camping for shows has become so incredibly normal that it's almost expected of you if you have pit. I feel like I can understand coming to shows early because you want to get a good spot to see your fave, but I don't know if I can get behind waiting weeks and weeks, even months, on the street to see your fave in concert. But the whole showing up like ridiculously early to shows is not the only problem that there is with camping. That's not the thing that's like shaking it all up here. I mean, one of the things, yeah, but it's not like the only thing. There's many other reasons why camping culture has gotten out of hand, as I so graciously titled this. So let's look at some of the ways that camping has become a little bit problematic. One of the main problems that I've seen brought up about camping culture is the fact that people are sleeping on the streets and camping on the streets with no problem for concerts, while actual unhoused people have to sleep on the streets with no choice and they get in trouble for it. We are currently experiencing a surging homelessness crisis, which is driven by an affordable housing shortage and a result of the coronavirus pandemic in general. In these big cities with like huge homeless populations, there are many unhoused people like without housing who are left with very few options to seek shelter. And there's these mass police raids that are taking place in these cities to like tear down people's homes and throw away all their belongings, which just further increases the unhoused situation and leaves those people with nowhere to go. With laws in place to prevent people from camping on the streets and these unhoused raids happening daily, it's problematic that this camping culture amongst fans is more acceptable and even more protected by security than those who turn to the streets for actual survival. While many venues and security discourage all types of camping for concerts, hardly any enforcement of these rules is actually done, and these fans still camp out despite it being banned. Not only the whole unhoused thing, but oftentimes the people who are outside camping leave the areas that they're camping in completely trashed afterwards. We've seen like these streets and venues like covered in fast food trash and belongings and mess left by concert goers because they leave it there from camping, go inside the venue, go to the show, and then leave and go home afterwards, and the mess is just left there. Do you have no decorum? Were we raised in barns? Did we not learn to reduce, reuse, and recycle? Is Mother Earth a joke to you? Unbelievable. Like, I can't even believe it. Some of the pictures that I've seen of just like areas that people have camped in being left completely trashed, it's just absolutely insane. The other thing about camping, though, is that the logistics of it often create like arguments and fights, or like make room for arguments and fights. There's people who will show up later than everyone else and then cut in line. Like, all these people have been on the streets for hours on end, or even days and days on end. And then there's people who show up and don't camp and manage to like cut or take someone's place in line. There's also people who are camping, but they camp for other people and allow other people who weren't out there camping to come and get in line with them and create an even longer line for like the people behind them. So they're essentially coming and cutting in line even though they didn't camp, like spot saving, if you will. And then the girlies start fighting because of these things, because of their spot in line and the cutting and the spot saving and all of those things. People start fighting, like getting into these arguments and sometimes even physical fights, either outside of the venue or later inside the venue. All kinds of TikToks and videos of people literally fist fighting each other because of like the camping situation or spot in line or spot at the barricade or whatever, which is another thing that's just absolutely wild to me. Like, we are getting into physical fights with each other over spots in line, like kindergartners. Like, do we need to do that thing where we have a rope and everyone grabs onto it to hold their spot in line? I think this intense camping situation also increases like safety hazards specifically for the venue. Like, venue security is all of a sudden responsible for dozens of unsupervised people sleeping in the street on their property in the middle of a really busy city. Plus, there's the issue of camping and like the excitement of seeing your fave makes it so you're not really thinking about self care and you're not maybe having enough water and you're not maybe getting yourself something to eat. So then people end up passing out in the pit. There's been lots and lots of conversations going on about this and like concert safety and venue accountability and artist accountability at shows ever since the Astroworld tragedy happened. Those conversations have been spiked up a lot. Artists now more than ever are really trying to look out for their crowds and make sure that people have water and we're giving each other water and people aren't passing out in the pit. But the fans in the front row, having camped out for hours and hours on end, or days on end, or months on end, are the ones who are passing out during the show due to like heat exhaustion, not eating, and dehydration. They're just like simply not well rested and energized enough to handle a show in the pit specifically. And wouldn't that fucking suck? Wouldn't that suck so bad if you spent all that time outside camping in the weather conditions, just like in the street, waiting and waiting for this show that you want to be good and magical and fun in the front row just to have the whole experience ruined because you didn't look after yourself. So you end up fainting in the pit and you have to be taken out and miss the show. Girl, I would be in the trenches. I would be starting fires. I would be so fucking mad if I spent all that time camping and then I couldn't even see the show. But who do I have to blame but myself for not drinking water and taking care of myself before the show? I can't even believe I'm saying this, but there's also been accounts of people literally peeing on the floor in the pit because they don't want to like risk losing their spot to go to the bathroom, so they don't go to the bathroom like before the show while they're camping, whatever, or they don't want to leave the barricade and try to come back, so they're pissing on the floor. Peeing on the floor. What do I even say about this? Like, what do I even, this is supposed to be commentary. What am I supposed to comment on? People peeing on the floor? What do I say? That shit is just foul, and then everyone around you has to deal with the smell. So speaking of the smell, there's also a hygiene problem going on with campers in the pit. Obviously, when you're camping in the street for days on end, you're not like showering or brushing your teeth, and you're essentially just sitting there collecting dirt and dust and then bringing it all into the venue for all these freshly showered and ready concert goers. I've seen tweets and TikToks all over the place recently, partly what inspired this video, of people talking about how bad the smell is in the GA sections because people are not taking care of themselves, like I said, before shows because they're camping. There was even a literal Dove deodorant truck put outside of one of Harry's shows after a TikTok about this hygiene issue went viral. A literal deodorant truck. Like, where are we at? I can't. Needless to say, though, some of these links are just absolutely insane to go to for a concert, like to see someone performing. Everyone deserves to have like a really good and comfortable and safe and good smelling experience. I don't think that experience is worth jeopardizing. I just don't. Now, as always, I don't want to just complain and complain about an issue and then offer nothing. So let me make myself useful and talk about some of the ways I think we can improve the camping situation. Now, I will say that venues have tried in the past to help the camping issue / ban it completely. It's not like they've just like laid down and let these things happen. Sometimes venues will straight up ban camping and say that it's not allowed. That never works because concert goers just make an unofficial camping line somewhere else and do it anyway. And there's also been an attempt to do like early entry things so that you can get in and have a good spot paid for instead of camping for it. Like, there's this platform called Lane One that comes to mind where you can buy a special add-on so that you're the first. It's called like first to the floor, and they also have one that's like front row. But the first on floor experience is just like you come at a certain time and you're let into the venue before everyone else, and it's like guaranteed barricade, without camping. Or sometimes artists are now doing these like early entry packages where it's a special ticket that you can buy for the first entry into the venue, again, so there's no camping. But that doesn't work either because a lot of times people will just make a second line anyway. So then you get to the venue and there's two lines. There's one line where you just show up and go in early because you bought the early entry package, but then there's another line of GA people without the early entry package that are still camping to be behind the early entry people. So it's like either way they're gonna camp. The girls are gonna camp. Do I personally believe that camping shouldn't be a thing altogether? No. I don't think camping is the enemy. I think the links that people are going to with camping is the enemy. Like I said earlier, I think camping for like a night or a long few hours is perfectly normal and fine and doesn't really create all of these issues if it's done correctly. But camping for days and days, weeks to months is where I gotta draw the line. I just gotta. But when it comes to camping for a few long hours or a night or whatever, I think there are ways that we can make the experience safer and better and more comfortable. First of all, I think venues should be way more strict in their policies if they're going to have them. Like they should say no camping for X amount of time, like set a time that people can start camping and enforce it. If you get here earlier than this, you will be kicked off of our property or you will not be let into the show. Like say it and mean it. Don't just be like, don't camp here and then do nothing about it. Also think it's a smart idea to organize fandom cleanup days if we're talking about the trash issue. Like if you're gonna sit outside and camp, fine, but you have to be dedicated to coming back and picking up your shit. Like a human that has decorum, like a human that cares. And it could be a fun experience too, like make it a fun thing. Everyone comes back, break speaker, blast your fave that you're all seeing. Like if you're all there to see Taylor Swift, come back to the venue, blast some Taylor music, and everyone clean up. You can even wear the merch that you bought at the show the night before. Then come back and clean up the streets, make sure everything looks nice, and don't just leave it sitting there. I also saw this idea on Twitter, so credit to the original person who said it, but someone on Twitter recently said that it would be a good idea for people who are camping to bring donations for different homelessness programs and shelters and things like canned goods and non-perishable food items, something like if you're coming to camp, in order to get a number, you have to turn in X amount of items to donate to unhoused people, which isn't going to magically erase the fact that it's not fair that people get to camp and unhoused people don't, but at least you care and at least you're doing something instead of just camping and doing nothing. Like it's better than nothing. Plus, if we can get people to stop camping for weeks and days and only camp for a night, then that would be a lot better, but this also begs the question, should we get rid of pits in general? The concept of the pit is becoming a lot more hectic, and while it is fun to be close, it's just gotten out of hand, as I keep saying. There's a lot of problems with pits in general, like crowd crushing instances and people passing out and fainting and hygiene issue and just being all crammed and close. Like, is that something that we still want? Or should we think about getting rid of pits in general and just having all concerts be seated? So you spend money on the seat that you want and that's the seat that you get and that's that. That would erase camping culture, the fainting in the pit thing, the hygiene thing. I don't know how I feel about it, but let me know you guys' thoughts on getting rid of pits in general. And lastly, most importantly, the concept of just taking care of yourself and others when you're camping. Like if you know that you're camping before a show, you need to look after yourself before anything else. Like make sure that you're having water, find the time to go get food. Remember that your well-being like comes way before being able to see your fave up close. It's just like simple little practices like that can make concerts so much more enjoyable when you're looking out for yourself and looking out for the people around you. I do think that concert culture these days post-COVID is absolutely insane, but there are ways to make it better if everyone would just care about the concept and care about each other. And it's got to be a joined effort between fans, artists, and the venue. Like all three of us is what makes the show the show. So if all three of those groups of people care and want to make the experience better, then it's possible. Because concerts are fun, they're super one of a kind. We don't want to see that phenomenon be ruined. But yeah, that's my little spiel on camping for concerts. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about camping culture. Let me know what concerts you're excited about going to. I want to see it all. While you're down there, you can check out my form for video requests if you have an idea for me. I check it daily. And you can also find all my social medias down there, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, whatever you like. I hope you're all doing absolutely amazing, drinking all the water, thriving, and I'll see you in my next video.